Hey everyone, welcome to Tina Zaccardi Bakes. I am Tina Zaccardi, winner of season 4 of the Great American Baking Show. And today we are making my Nana's Easter bread. Easter's right around the corner, the end of this month. And why wait till like a couple of days before Easter to really enjoy this bread? Because it is so good. We want to get making it ahead of time. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to make some Easter bread. It's a slightly sweet, kind of not too dense, not too fluffy, kind of somewhere in the middle. It's just delicious. And I love to eat it for breakfast, for a snack, after dinner, like dessert. You can have it many different ways, with butter, with jelly, but we're going to jump right in. And the first thing we're going to start with is we are going to mix together in a small saucepan. We have butter in here already, unsalted butter, 8 tablespoons or 114 grams. And then I'm going to add to that a cup and a quarter of whole milk. Okay, and we're going to put this on the heat. And I'm also going to add 2/3 a cup of sugar or 132 grams. And we're going to warm this up until the butter is all melted and the sugar is almost dissolved. This is how my grandmother did it, and this is exactly the way I do it. I'm telling you, every time I make this bread, it feels like she's with me, and it tastes exactly like the way she made it, which is it's just so comforting and so great that I'm lucky enough to be able to have that recipe. And I kind of a funny story on how I got the recipe, because some Italian grandmas, they add a little bit of this and a little bit of that. You never get any exact measurements. So there's one day, I think I was in college, I went over to her house and I said, Nana, I need that recipe for sweetbread. So I sat down with her, and every time she was going to put something in, I said, hold it, wait, let me measure it. And that's how I got the recipe. I had to sit there and measure everything with her, because otherwise it was just, oh yeah, that looks good. That looks like enough flour. And yeah, that looks like enough milk. So we measured it, and we did a pretty good job, because I'm telling you, every time I make it, it tastes just like she makes it. And I know
Tina,
there's some.
Ella's jumping in. She loves bread. This looks delish. Nancy says, love your recipes. You make it look so easy and to follow. And Olivia says, my grandmom always did the eye test.
So for those of you on Instagram, I just got a couple of messages from the people at MARKET.live. We've got a couple of people watching, and they love Easter bread. And I thank you so much for tuning in and watching. So we are going to take the temperature of this mixture, because we don't want it too hot, because we don't want to kill the yeast. So I'm just going to see what the temperature of this is. And I want it to be about 110 degrees. And you know what? We are just about there. So I'm going to take this off the heat, and I'm just going to leave it right there while we get our dry ingredients together. And I'm going to get rid of my hot plate, because we don't need that anymore. So if you've watched me long enough, you know that I love to use a scale, because it is the most accurate way to measure. Weighing by weight is always better than weighing by volume. I know some people like to scoop, and the tendency with scooping is to get way too much flour than what your recipe calls for. I guarantee you, if you take a good scoop of flour and weigh it, it's going to be more than 120 grams, which is what I use as a guide for my 1 cup of flour, 120 grams. So for this recipe, we need 5.5 cups of flour, which is 660 grams. And we're using all-purpose flour today. You don't need bread flour. You don't need anything special. Just plain old all-purpose flour. That's what Grandma used, and if it's good enough for her, it's good enough for us. So I'm just going to take the flour right from my container and put it right into the bowl. I don't really have to dirty anything else. And we're going to keep scooping until our scale says 660 grams. Now, this makes a lot of bread. You can make either 6 loaves, the round loaves that I have here, or you can make 2 braids, or you can make 3 loaves and a braid. And I'm going to show you how to make all of those once our dough is prepared. And I'm almost there. I'm about 6:11, 6:30. Here we go. That was easy enough. And we don't need our scale anymore. I'm going to put that aside too. The next thing we're going to do is going to add some kosher salt. Kind of balances out the sweetness. We're going to add a teaspoon of that. I'm going to put that in there. And then I'm using instant yeast for this. There are a couple different kinds. You can use active dry or instant. The instant you can add directly to your flour and then mix it with your wet ingredients. The active yeast usually needs to be activated in a warm liquid like either water or milk or whatever liquid you're using in your recipe. But we're using instant yeast, so we can put it right in there. And we need 2.5 teaspoons of yeast and a half. And if you guys, I'm trying to watch you guys to see if you have any questions. How many grams of flour? 660 grams of flour, which is 5.5 cups. I can't really see who that is from here, but thank you for the question. I appreciate it. So we've got our dry ingredients in here. And what we're going to do is we are going to take our warmed milk, sugar, and butter mixture, and we're going to pour it right into here. Just like that. Easy enough, right? This is just such an easy recipe. And then I have 2 eggs, and I'm going to crack them into this bowl for 2 reasons. I want to break them up a little before I put them in here. I love having my sink back there. Just throw the egg shells right in there. And then cracking it in here instead of directly in here gives you the opportunity to make sure that you don't have a bad egg or you don't have a shell that's in there. So we're going to do the second one. And these eggs look great. And I'm just going to take a fork and I'm just going to break them up a little bit. And then put them directly in here. You can knead this by hand if you want. It might get a little messy because it is a little bit of a sticky dough. But a couple of things you can do to combat that is you can dust your surface with a little flour, just a little in your hands and the top of the dough before you start kneading. Or you could take a very, very small amount of vegetable oil and just kind of coat the surface that you're going to be kneading it on, and this will help prevent it from sticking. So that's a few little tips that we have. Let's see, who do we have joining? Hi, everybody. All right, so we are going to mix this on medium speed for about 2 minutes until, you can see that, until the dough has come together. About 1 to 2 minutes. It doesn't require much. And this looks really good. Everything looks really well incorporated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my paddle attachment off, and I'm going to scrape off any dough that's on there. And you can see that's kind of a real sticky mess, but I'm telling you, after you knead it with the dough hook for like 6 to 7 minutes, you will see how this dough is going to transform into something that's really silky smooth and starts to pull away from the sides of the bowl and gets to the point where you can handle it really nicely.
Hey, Tina, what do you guys typically do for Easter?
Oh, what do I do for Easter? We got a question. Oh, we all have another question. Can I find the recipe on your page? So it's actually not up on my website yet, and I'm going to try and get it up this week. But if anybody, if you're on MARKET.live, you will see it come on the screen. If you're on Instagram Live and you didn't get a measurement for one of the ingredients, just ask me in the comments and I'll be happy to let you know. But first, so far, I'm going to get this going while I talk. So first, we had 1¼ cups of whole milk, 1 stick of butter or 8 tablespoons, and 2/3 a cup of granulated sugar that we warmed in a pot to about 110, 115 degrees, no more. And then in our bowl, we had 5.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 2.5 teaspoons of yeast, and 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. We added the liquid ingredients to that, plus 2 whole large eggs. And most of my baking, I use large eggs. If you were to use like a jumbo or an extra large, you're going to change the texture of the dough. So I would stick, if you're baking, I would stick to large eggs. And I think we have another question. Oh, no, that was the same question. So we have this on medium speed, and you can see that it's going and it's kind of sticking, but we're going to let that go for another 5 or 6 minutes. I'm going to put it off to the side, and I'm going to show you how to shape the loaf. I'm just going to put that off there. So after this dough has been kneaded for about 5 to 6 minutes, and when it's done, I'm going to show you how you can tell when it's done kneading. We are going to take the dough and place it into a greased bowl, put some plastic over it, and set it aside to rise for about an hour, hour and a half, and it should be doubled in volume. And I'm going to show you, I have some right here. It looks really, it's just beautiful. It rolls just so beautifully. I'm going to show you right now. Oh, this dough is so nice. You can see right here.
Oh, it looks great.
Look at that. It looks great. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of take the air out of it. We're going to give it a good punch, and we're going to take it out of the bowl. And this is such a beautiful dough. Everybody can see that. I'm going to put that back there. So we're going to just kind of stretch it out into a rectangle so we can cut it into pieces. You can weigh it if you want to get more accurate measurements, but I think eyeballing it is good. Grandma used to eyeball it, so we're not going to get kind of crazy with that. So, like I said, you can make 6 loaves like this, or round little loaves, or you can make 2 braids like this, or you can do a combination. You can do 3 loaves and 1 braid, and that's what I'm going to show you today. So we're going to take our dough, and we are going to take our bench scraper, and we're going to cut it in half. There we go. All right, we're going to put this one aside, and we're going to take this one, and we're going to cut this into 3 parts, 3 equal parts. Let's see. This looks pretty good. 1, 2, and 3. Mixer's getting a little crazy over here. So we're going to take this piece, and we're going to kind of press it out a little bit, like into a rectangle. And then we're going to take little bits, and we're going to press it in, because we want to make a rope. There we go. I'm going to roll it around, and we're going to pinch it so that it all is together. And then we're going to roll it to about a 12-inch rope. And that's what I have right here. Everybody can see that. And the way my grandmother used to shape it is she used to do a knot. So she would take it and kind of spin it around and tuck one underneath. And she would make like a little knot. And there we have it, right here. Put that right there. I'm going to do it again with the other one. But first, I'm going to take a look at my dough right here. And we need to scrape the sides. Every once in a while, you're going to need to scrape the sides of this bowl to make sure that dough is all being kneaded together. All right.
Carrie's getting hungry just watching.
Somebody told me Carrie said she's getting hungry over on MARKET.live.
Oh, yeah.
You got to make some. Okay. And we're going to let this go. So we're about halfway there. So you can see, I want the dough to be really nice and stretchy, but right now it's kind of tearing. So I'm going to let this go about another maybe 3 to 4 minutes. We're going to push this off camera right now, and we're going to just let that go. And we're going to take another one of our pieces of dough. And again, we're going to flatten it, and we're just going to press, pull them in and press like this. Kind of turn it over and then just seal these edges. And then we're going to roll it out again. All right, about 12 inches. And then we're going to make our little knot. Like that. Very simple. And we've got one more, and we're going to do that one. I'm going to tuck those in. And then make sure that everything is pinched closed. And let's see, who do we have here? I used my mom's recipe, but could never do the braiding. Thank you for the tips. Oh, you're absolutely welcome. We're going to do some braiding with this next piece of dough. All right, so this is our last one. We're going to make our knot. And there it is. That's how we do it. That's how Nana used to do it. I'm going to move these over here. Now we have our other half of dough. And if this is a lot of bread and it's too much for you, this recipe is very easy to have because it has an even number of eggs. So you can just cut it right in half and make one braid or 3 loaves. And there we go. This is a nice rectangle, and we're going to cut this into 3 parts. Let's see. Right here.
Margarine just joined.
Right here. Hello, how are you? Okay. So we've got the 3 pieces, and we're going to do the same thing that we did for the knots, only we're going to make the ropes about 14 inches long instead of 12. We're going to make them a little bit longer. Okay. I'm going to just pinch that closed, and we're going to just roll it. And you don't need any flour on your surface. In fact, the flour will make it really hard for you to roll this out, because what's going to happen is it's going to start sliding on the flour, and you want a little friction on your countertop. So let's see. I've got a ruler in here, and let's see how well we did. 16, but that's okay. So we've got one. I'm going to do the second one. Same thing. Kind of press it in there as you're turning and making it into a rope shape. Pinch the side, and we're going to roll it. Everybody can see that. Okay, so we have our second one, and we're going to do our last one. And again, pressing it in. Let's see. I'm just looking to see who's on.
The kitty cat in New York City joined.
Hey, how are you? We've got, was it Kitty from New York City?
Kitty cat from New York City.
Kitty cat from New York City. Love it.
And Hannah Press just joined as well.
Hannah just joined. Hi, Hannah. We've got quite a few people on Instagram Live too. Kitty Cat is also on Instagram Live. She's double-barreled. She's got both.
That's great.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And I think they're showing a few products that I've been using on Market.live. And you can actually go on there, Market.live, and purchase them if you like. All right. So we've got our 3 strips for our braid. But before we do that, I'm going to show you what's going on with the dough right now. And I'm going to take this off. Oh, this is a lot of dough. And I'm going to show you what this dough looks like right now. Okay, so this is the dough, and it's really nice and stretchy now. And a good way to tell if you kneaded your dough enough is to make sure that you've developed the gluten. And we're going to just take a little piece off this dough. And already it looks really nice and smooth. And we're going to take it and we're going to start stretching it. And you can see it's stretching pretty easy. About 3 or 4 minutes ago when we tried to do this, you could see that the dough is ripping. Do we have a question? Oh, a couple of people have requested. Oh, hi. My brother's dog is online and he just waved at me. So as you can see, when we start to stretch it, it's going to start to get really thin. And if you can stretch it to the point where you can see through it, which is just about where we are there, you know that you've developed the gluten strands. You can see how beautiful and stretchy and supple this dough is. This is perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And you can just see how thin that is right there. So we're going to take our dough and kind of form it into a ball. And we can use the bowl that the other dough came out of. You want to make sure, I'm going to take a little more butter. We're going to butter the bowl. And then we're going to just put this in there, cover it with some plastic. There we go. And again, you're going to set it aside for about an hour and a half. You want to see that it's doubled. We're not so much looking for a specific amount of time as we're looking for it to be doubled in volume. So sometimes I like to put the time, write the time on the plastic so I have an idea of how long I've been letting it rise, just so it doesn't get away from you. Because sometimes I'll put it, I'll stick it in the microwave because it's kind of warm in there, and it's not on my counter, so I forget about it. So it's a good idea to either put the time in here or set a timer on your phone or your stove or whatever you have. Okay, so that's how we know that our dough has risen enough and it looked really good. So for the braid, we're going to take our 3 strands and we're going to start. I'm not going to pinch them yet. I'm going to start braiding. Don't braid them too tight because when they do the second rise, it kind of inhibits it a little. So leave a little space. Do a kind of a loose braid. And it's just a 3 braid. So we're going to go over the middle. And now this one is the middle now. We're going to go over the middle. And we're just going to keep doing that until we get to the end. There we go. And it's still loose. There's still some space there. When we get to the end, we're going to pinch those edges, those ends together. And we're going to tuck it underneath. And then we're going to finish doing this side. And we're going to pinch them together. And we are going to tuck them underneath. And I'm going to get a pan. Half sheet pan should be perfect for this. I'm going to line it with parchment paper. And we're going to take our braid and we're going to put it right there. From here, you're going to cover it with some plastic wrap. And I like to kind of put a dish towel over it, kind of makes it a little more cozier. And you're going to let it rise until it's about doubled. And you can see that it's puffy. A good test to see if your dough has risen is take your finger and kind of give it a poke. Right now, it springs back really quickly, which means it has not risen enough. You'll know is if when you give it a poke, it makes an indentation, but then slowly it starts to fill it in. If you poke it and it does not spring back and a hole is left, you've overproofed it. So just be careful. I'm really not, sometimes it's just really hard to tell, but just when it's almost doubled and it's kind of puffy, you know that it's time to bake. So I'm just going to demonstrate with one of our knots. We are going to pretend now that these have risen for their second time and are ready to go in the oven. So once they're risen and ready to go in the oven, we are going to brush them with an egg wash. And all it is I just take a whole egg and I beat it up. Very simple. And we're going to brush the entire outside with the egg wash. Now, this is only after it has done its second rise. So we're just going to pretend here that this has risen already. And we're going to brush it all over with the egg wash. And then we are going to take some sprinkles. And my grandmother always used the little balls, the nonpareils, so that's what I use. You feel free to use the Jimmy sprinkles too, right there. But this one has the sprinkles, the little ball sprinkles on it, as everybody can see right there. And we're just going to sprinkle it and sprinkle it however liberally you like. We like a lot of sprinkles. Okay. So after your egg wash and after your sprinkles, you're going to stick them in a 350-degree, make sure it's preheated. I would start maybe about 20 to 25 minutes before you think your dough has risen and is ready for the oven. Get that oven going. Even when it says it's up to 3, like if you have a digital readout and it says, boom, we're at 350, let it go another 10 or 15 minutes for it to really heat up. So this goes into a 350-degree preheated oven. The loaves, the little loaves, round loaves, the knots will take about 25 minutes until you can see this beautiful golden brown, beautiful. But the braid may take a little bit longer, maybe 25 to 28 minutes. Another good way to test for doneness is with an instant read thermometer. If the interior of the bread is at least 190 degrees, you know you're good. And try not to overbake this because you don't want it to dry out. You want it to be a little bit moist, a little bit tender. This is great. So that's what we do just before we put in the oven. Egg wash, sprinkles. The knot loaf is about 25 minutes. The braid is going to be about 25 to 28 minutes. So I'm going to get a knife. And I'm going to take one of the loaves to slice right here. I'm going to take this one. Here we go. And we're going to give it a slice. And I like thick slices, like more than 1/4 of an inch thick. And my preference is to have them with nice salted butter. And I'm going to show everybody what the interior of this looks like. This is what our bread looks like, if everybody can see. It's a tight crumb. It's not this super fluffy bread. It's, I don't know how else to describe it. It's just really perfect. And every time I taste it, it reminds me of my grandmother. And I hope you guys actually give this a try. If you do, and please, if you run into any problems or have any questions, you can always reach out to me through my Instagram and through my website, tinaszaccardi.com. Let's see, we have looks delicious, can't wait to try. Oh, great. I'm so excited. Someone's going to try it. So, like I said, make this before Easter. Don't wait till the end of the month to make this. Enjoy it for the next couple of weeks. So, again, I hope you give it a try. I hope you love it as much as we do. And I will see you next Monday. And I'll have a great week. Bye, everybody.